So they've been moved and approved. The minutes for November 9th, 2011 regular meeting have been approved. We are now moved to comments from guests. Who would like to speak first?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Evans.
Yes, you have to get up and you have to identify where you live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Will Evans, and I'm over on Barber Lane, and I have submitted an application to try to become a member of your committee and to help the township. And I'm very excited and very ambitious to do that pending your acceptance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And are you going to stay for the entire meeting?
Yes.
Okay, we have you on the vacancy's on the list, the agenda. Thank you.
You have an application.
We have applications. Did you pick up the documents, Pam, for tonight's meeting?
No.
Okay, right over there. And there's copies of the applications. Any other comments from our guests tonight? All right. Since there have been no more comments, why don't we go on to unfinished business? Do you have a comment? Yes.
Well, if I might, we didn't address the agenda and approve the agenda.
You're right, and that's something we should do. I've been reading on Robert's Rules, and we should address the agenda and approve it. So, who wants to address it, and who wants to have comments?
I move that we move the new business item 7A, presentation by Civic Plus, up in front of the unfinished business discussion. I know we have the gentleman from Civic Plus who is kind of waiting by. It could be that this meeting technology will go south on us, but at least we would have attempted it, and we would be done with it, and then can go on to other things that will take about half an hour. And he is waiting in Columbus, Ohio, for us to make a call and get him online.
Are there any objections to the change?
No objections?
So moved. Somebody second the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? The motion has been passed to move item 7A above unfinished business, which is item 5. And we will wait for you to make the call. Mr. Pilkington? You'll be making the call now?
Yeah, Lauren, did you have another one? Because we still haven't have we approved the minutes? We approved the motion and the change to the minutes, but I think we now have to have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I thought we just did. We just did, didn't we?
I thought we approved the motion to add this, but then I think we still got to move.
Well, we have a secretary. What did we say?
As far as for the minutes, we approved the November minutes.
Yeah, we approved the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the minutes, the agenda. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah. As far as the agenda, yeah.
We approved the agenda, too.
Yep, we did.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right. All right, now that we've approved the agenda,
Okay, give me a moment here.
this is what is called dead air. Bear with us, audience.
Well, this is going to take a moment.
Okay.
Who are the, I guess if I could ask, even though we just amended it, who are the two applications? We have another applicant as well?
We have two applications. I would prefer to call them applicant A and applicant B, although applicant B is here. So, there's no secret. Mr. Evans, and we did talk about Ms. Solano, who has been, her application has been turned in. So we have these two.
I could say just comment about the school liaison. Personally, I think it's great that we've got somebody involved in the school. She doesn't happen to live on Roseal, and that is one of the criteria. And I'm hoping this would come before the board, and the board would waive that for this particular position. She, maybe they would be happier if she didn't vote on anything, but we need somebody with her background from the schools.
Well, we've had that in the past, where people did not live a school person, and that was up to the township trustees to make that determination.
Well, in our new charges, it says that they should 7 qualified residents of Grosse Ile Township.
Right.
So it would have to be a waiver or a variance on this ordinance. But personally, when this is brought before the board, I'm certainly going to speak in favor of her, even though she doesn't live in Grosse Ile at this moment.
Pam, wasn't this brought up at the last board meeting?
It was.
The trustee meeting? And they said that she couldn't serve because she was not a taxpaying resident. I think it was established at that meeting that she couldn't.
Well, I thought it was that she couldn't be a voting member,
Okay.
but I can look it up in the minutes and see, because she definitely would be an asset to the commission.
Well, then we will check that out and find out.
So then would we go to an 8-member board with one non-voting member?
We would
Ready
have to
to,
see what the
join the
township
meeting
directs
right
us to
now?
do. We take our lead from the township.
Right.
Yes, I have.
So that would be tabled, and then we will talk to, during the agenda, we will talk to Mr. Evans about your background and everything.
Okay, it's 0,
I would have
019.
called you in, but I knew we were having a presentation, and I knew that it would be lengthy.
Got it?
You might not want to be as patient as some people.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely. You have dead air right now.
Well, I noticed that you live on Barbara Lane, and I attended Grosse Ile High School back in the 50s, and my very best friend in high school was Barbara Lane. And I see you live on Barbara Lane.
The first 3.
So
So I've got 880,
there's
019-926, is that correct?
a longtime friend of mine. How long have you been on the island?
For 12 years now.
Oh, okay, so you're not a newcomer.
No, ma'am.
Mhm.
My children all have gone through all schools, the elementary, the middle school, and high school.
Oh, okay. And what leaned you in our direction?
I would like to help with the commission, to help the community, to bring more attention to the wonderful events that we have at the island and the surrounding communities as well, too, that we can bring more people over. And that would also help the businesses to prosper.
What was that?
That would even help the businesses prosper.
I was just driving down Macomb Street and saw several empty shops along the way, and that's, I'm just hoping that there would be somebody who's got the wherewithal and it takes energy and time and a desire to be a business person in this economy. So I'm hoping somebody will fill those empty storefronts.
Absolutely. It would help communicating better to our own island, as, again, the surrounding communities, that we could definitely help businesses prosper better and even portray a great image that we have of Grosse Ile even greater.
Good. Where did you live before you moved here?
Born and raised in Trenton,
Oh, so you're familiar with the territory.
very much.
Okay.
Ready to go. I'm going to have to put you on the mic. I've got that on screen. I'm going to hang up and I'm dialing now. Thanks.
We should be doing this shortly, it looks like. Modern technology.
Lauren, could you explain, I think you're familiar, has anybody else used GoToMeeting or
Yes.
GoToWebinar?
Sure, they're easy.
Could you maybe explain what that offers us?
As far as GoToMeeting? Well, it's a great interface platform for companies or individuals to talk as well as view the same materials and communicate either over the phone or over a microphone or via text. So it's a very convenient mechanism of communication. So if you're not in the same building, same city, same state, same country, you can view a presentation as right there.
I think they have a limitation of, 1,000 people that can participate? Yeah, I think so, because I do it weekly on certain software at home, and it's wonderful. I just bought my new headphone and microphone so I could chime in instead of just writing in. It's great stuff. It's very simple.
Is it like Skype?
Not really. Would you say? Laura? Would you say it's like Skype? I don't think so.
We
No.
don't use Skype all that much,
Okay.
so I wouldn't know what the difference
No.
would be.
It's a wonderful tool for demonstration purposes, and intricate items can be discussed
there?
at length, and that's what I like. We have a 2 to 3 hour webinar every week.
I can't hold
Yeah,
it.
but again, yeah, it's great. Yeah, and it brings it right into your home. You can sit there in your jammies and have your meeting.
It's not.
No,
Why don't you say
they're
something?
televising to you. You're not televising to them, so they don't see you, but they can hear you.
Well, that's the difference. On Skype,
Right.
you can see the person,
Right.
where they're sitting, what they're wearing, what they're doing.
I prefer not to be viewed at that point in time. But it's a great tool, and it's really easy and interactive, and I think it lends itself to the general population, as opposed to just techies.
What's it called?
GoToMeeting,
Are you still there?
webinar.
Webinar?
Webinar. It's a webinar. You're on the web. And they're just great.
Now we're trying to hook up the audio. Thank you for bearing with us. I had them on the line. I got this too close to the to the microphone. And now-
There usually are a few problems, but you can get through them.
Well, I think it's a great way to present this, and I'm not sure whether this is going out to the residents or not.
I would hope that the camera would, once this gets going, would be focused on this so that we could share this with our public, because I know a lot of people watch GITV, and they like to see what's going on in the community, and we encourage it. We want them to see that we're trying to keep modernizing and reaching out to meet their needs. Yeah, Pam, you'll be on a webinar before you know it. Any interest issue? Yes, you just join. You just log on. They ask you if you'd like to join. You join. There's no fee, which is wonderful. And you can
What are
just...
they talking about?
Well, I talk about a software package that I use for scrapbooking and for sewing. It's great. And you can talk about anything, but that's what I talk about. It's a software package. It's very intricate. They're always updating it, and
Is there a chair that pounds a gavel?
no, there's the gentleman who runs it is, I think, the software engineer.
Okay, let's try it again. Hold on for a second.
That's great. They really explain things in depth and detail where you really couldn't get that in a meeting. No. It's a lot of
Okay, now I got you on mouse. Hold
people.
on.
I'll show you sometime.
Let's just say something.
Okay, test 1, 2, 3,
We
4.
can.
Says DJ Kowalski. And John here with City Plus.
Can anybody hear that? Excellent. Well, I don't know whether you can see us and whether you've got us up on the TV screen where you are, but the Communications Commission meeting is in order, and I'm just by way of introduction, our chair is Kathy Walker, and these two gentlemen are with Civic Plus. And we've got your presentation up on screen, so, Chairman?
I would welcome you, and I would hope that you learn a lot about your product. So please introduce yourselves and go forward with your program.
Could you hear that? Oh, we lost him again.
It doesn't always work as well. Especially the first time through, I think you have a lot more learning curve than when you do it weekly.
Are these websites that they design?
Yeah.
Yes.
We ought to give it a certain period of time, a half hour or so, to make this happen, if we do have other agenda items, but I'm sure it'll be connecting shortly.
Do you know where they originate?
I did, actually. I went to their website about a month ago and really reviewed it, but it escapes me at the moment where they're from. I think it's the East Coast, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Where are they located?
One gentleman is out of Lawrence, Kansas, or Manhattan, Kansas, I'm sorry. And the other gentleman, CJ, is out of Columbus, Ohio.
Where is their home base, though, for the business? Kansas? I'm mistaken then. Kansas. Oh, I know what I was thinking. There was a website that they were talking about that they had done that was on the East Coast. Okay. Yeah, there was something. They really are great when they work. The webinars, too.
All right, gentlemen. We're going to try this one more time. Hold on.
Just click, and they give you the software, and it goes into the computer.
We don't have a phone line set up.
Yeah. Well, for the audio, I don't know why the audio couldn't have gone through this.
We don't have jacks here in this room to be able to get the phone lines. The closest jack is it's down the hall.
Oh, wasn't this built in, the building built in like 2000? Yeah, so technology's leapfrogged ahead, where if they built it today, they would probably have that.
Guys, if this one goes again, I think I'm getting this too close to the phone. I don't know whether you can just start going through some of this or
They
not.
have one phone line now. They have,
But I'll try to get you onto the audio again, okay? Are you there?
Technology is so different nowadays.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Okay, CJ?
Yes.
Okay, please, quickly. Go ahead before I screw it up.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you folks this evening. Wanted to take just a little bit of time to introduce Civic Plus, and then my colleague Sean will take you through a brief demonstration, and in the interest of time, we're going to kind of get through some things quite quickly so that they'll allow some time for questions here. Civic Plus is a company. We're located in Manhattan, Kansas, and we bill ourselves as more than just building websites. Civic Plus, what has been able to do over the last 10 years is engage communities and help the government and the residents and citizens of those towns interact. Hopefully, the screen, as you can see, this is a representation map of our 1,000 customers that we have. Our focus is mainly on in-county government, as we have developed a e-government content management solution to really meet the needs of city and county government. What we found over the course of these 10 years working with cities and counties is that there's usually three possibilities why have gravitated towards Civic Plus. And I listed these three up on the screen right here. Possibly limitations to a current website, possibly that website has been outsourced, and there's some issues with functionality and support. Or you've also got situations where there's costs associated with the solutions in terms of some time being consumed with having to upkeep and maintain the website. And usually folks fall into one of three of these categories, as we've found. In the interest of time, I'm going to kind of go ahead and go through here and introduce it so that Sean can get going. The Civic Plus e-government solution is just that. It's a full-service solution from design to development. And what you're going to find is the ease of functionality in the beyond part that we'll talk about a little bit later. We're going to be as high touch during the process as you'll allow us to be. You're going to find that you're going to see some award-winning websites. What's real nice is that this website is built from a blank slate and not a template. You're going to get an original. The content management experts also guide you through some of the best practices that we've experienced over the 10 years. And then the solution has developed and evolved with that vast knowledge base of the 1,000 customers that we've been serving and have served over the course of time. Lastly, we've got training options to fit whatever the need is. You can have training be on site. You can have a web-based training similar to what we're doing here. And then there's also a couple other value-added spots in our solution that allow for online online training at your leisure, and then discussions like blog groups with other users. And when we talk about the Civic Plus solution, again, we're not talking about just today. What we're talking about is much more about tomorrow. You're going to have full-on support in the Civic Plus solution. The continuous upgrades and the enhancement, those just become part of the content manager that you use. And it's not like you have to take downtime or receive a disk or have somebody remote into your server. That site hosting is included with our website. And we do all this in a very secure data center with backups, redundancies, and disaster recovery measures. There's certainly requirements that go along with government websites that we are fully compliant upon. And then this is that Civic Plus University and the Civic Plus connection we were talking about, that you've got tutorial videos and then the blogs to go back and share your experience with other Civic Plus users and pick up ideas and those kinds of things. So normally we have a discussion here around websites, but again, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, A, so we don't lose the connection here, and B, to kind of get going so that we can catch some questions at the end. So, just one moment. I'll introduce Sean Hare, and he'll take you through a couple of our partner companies.
Great. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's time there tonight. Really what we like to do is we like to showcase some of the features and functionality of our system on client sites. So what I've done tonight, as CJ said, in the interest of time, I picked out a couple sites that I'm just going to point out some things to you, and then I'll flip over. We'll add a calendar item inside of our content management system so you can see how our system works, how easy it is to update, and the ability to keep your content fresh. So what we're looking at here is the city of Manitowoc, Wisconsin. As CJ said, our process starts essentially from design and navigation. Every website is built from a ground-up design. We don't use templates. We don't give you 5 designs that you're allowed to pick from. Our designers will design your site until you're happy. And we take a lot of pride in that because we really do consider you a partner with us. And it's important to us that your website represent your community. So our designers work hand in hand with you to get that design. The other thing that is very important is an easy navigation. We work with our partners and government to come up with a navigation system that, one, not only makes sense to you guys as the entity, but also important that it makes sense to your visitors or your assistants. So working with you, we develop a navigation that gets citizens or your community where they need to get to. And our goal is always within 3 clicks. Statistics show that most people will not go further than 3 clicks into a website to find something. And we also know that they're also usually only on a site an average of 45 seconds if they can't find one. So it's very important we get that engagement running. What you're seeing here is Manitowoc is using several of our tools. We break them up into something that we call pages, which is typically static content that might be the department information or contact information or a specific organizational unit within your organization, and that's called in our pages. The rest of it we try to break out into functionality called modules. Modules might be things like the news, where you can post recent news and events, calendar of events, quick links, those kind of things that change often and help seem dynamic. We break those out into modules to ease that ability to update the site because it becomes very easy for anyone to insert information into that module, and then it's displayed throughout the site in the appropriate places, thereby keeping your site fresh. The other thing that we know is people now like to interact with their, with the government. So we have a function called the Citizen Request Tracker. This is a very detailed form that Manitowoc has. You don't have to get detailed. Some of our communities have a simple, your name, phone, email, how do we contact you, and a brief description. It's really up to you. Our system allows you to have as many forms as you'd like, and then be customized however you like. The nice thing is, based on the selection, we can actually route that to a specific person with an organization or to multiple people. That data is also collected and stored on the backside for you to view or export out another time. So again, it's enabling citizens to interact with you. It's more of an engagement platform. The other thing that we would take on a client is, we know, I guess, that people look at the web a little different. We don't copy and paste the content. Our content experts actually, and I'm going to click on the fire department here, actually take that opportunity to go over that content and, one, freshen it up if the information's correct. We also like to break that out into easily readable sections, might be delineated by a header, or break out responsibilities into bullet points. So importantly, we know a lot of times people are just looking who to call or the hours of operation. So again, we just don't copy and paste your current site's content. We take that opportunity to go through that content with you, thereby freshening it up and bringing it up to what today's standards the typical web user will use.
Sorry, we lost him, it looks like. It might be.
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
You can hear him?
Not now.
It's garbled. It's garbled.
We lose the name.
Can you hear down there, Lauren?
Mm-hmm. Send them a message, maybe. And the screen, you can type right there.
I think we sure need to get a phone jack in here so we can make use of this technology.
There has been a suggestion made that we get a phone jack. We can just...
I guess we've got the jack. It's just for some reason that light.
We will pass that on to the powers that be.
Is this their logo?
Citrix, no.
Citrix owns our GoToMeeting. Citrix owns GoToMeeting. Citrix is the creator company, it's the parent company. GoToMeeting is one of the companies.
Civic Plus.
This is Craig again, I'm sorry, hold on.
It's not- it doesn't have anything to do with it.
I just saw it down here. Maybe their connection.
Yeah, no, Citrix.
I'm not sure how much time I've got left. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, no problem. Well, the next site we're looking at is Manistee, Michigan, and I'll go through this pretty quick. Really what I want to talk about is we also have another module, again, keeping in that mind that this is an engagement platform, we have a module called Notify Me. And essentially what Notify Me is the ability for your citizens to be able to sign up for notifications or changes to your website. So within the Notify Me, you can have an unlimited number of lists. In those lists, you can get as granular as you'd like or as broad as you'd like. It's really up to you. The system is flexible and easy to use. The nice thing is Notify Me citizens sign up with simply an email address, but we take it a step further. We actually are able to communicate to citizens through text messaging as well. Once they've logged in, they can choose to sign up for a specific list, either through email, text message, or both. Now, the other really nice thing is that many of our modules within our system, you can have, like you can have a Notify Me list that you might use for distribution of information that you want to set up. But additionally, within many of our modules, like Alert Center, bid postings, jobs, or a calendar, we actually have the ability to tie in Notify Me. So so you can make an update to the website, let's say to the alert center, maybe to notify that you got the 4th Street closure. You make an update to the website. It's one click, you update the website, and that notification is sent out to citizens in the preferred method of communication that they wanted, whether that be email or text message. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for keeping your citizens informed. The other thing that we include with every website is the ability to have a mobile site. We know citizens are becoming more tech savvy, and while on a large screen, this is a little odd looking. If one of the citizens of Manistee, Michigan, pulls this up on their smartphone or a tablet device, this is the website that they'll be presented with, which gives them a very easy navigation ability to get to all of the information that they might need off of their mobile phone. So it's, again, a way to keep them connected to the information you want them to have when they're not necessarily at a full computer. Keep in mind, I know we're trying to keep this short for you all, so we have questions. I'm going to switch over real quick. This is the sales demo site, and this is what we'll be editing on. This is what it looks like on the outside. This is our content management system administration panel. We essentially, every user, and you can have unlimited users, which what that means is multiple people can be adding content to the areas of the website that they're given permission to. So we, again, try to help remove a bottleneck if there is one. Let the people whose content area that they're in charge of, that they're the experts, let them be the ones that are going to update that. Every user in an admin panel, that admin panel is completely customizable. So if you work with an event calendar more than you work with Document Center, you can simply drag that over there, and you can keep a shortcut of your 8 most common modules that you work in. We talked about the administration toolbar that follows you throughout the site. You can have shortcuts to the things you do the most, as well as items that are expiring off the site soon. The pages that we talked about, which is typically more that static information and the way that you build the menu structure. And then again, the philosophy that behind our site, we feel more in modules. So this is where you see all of the different functionality that you can choose to plug in to your website if you want. The nice thing about this is, if you don't have permissions to say the bid postings module, you actually will not see it in the list. For demonstration purposes, I'm an admin on my system. I see everything. But we really try to keep that easy for the people who are contributing content to your website, so they will only see what they have access to. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, in the interest of time, we're going to update a real quick calendar. Our calendar works much like most of our modules. If you've ever done anything online, filled out a form, purchased something, it works much the same way. I've essentially, for tonight's benefit, I have pre-populated a communication commission meeting. You can have as many calendars as you like. We're going to be editing the main city calendar. Over here under the actions, you can drop down, and I could publish this and make this live now. I could preview it. I could copy the event. Several different options. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually modify it. You can do either modify or by clicking on it. So much of our system in the modules works this way. You have required information such as a calendar item will be title and event date, and then you have several options for optional information. I'm going to go ahead and click these. I'm going to show you our mapping feature. So I typed this in so you guys can watch me type, and I can make sure I got all the spelling right. So I put in the information. You can easily upload an image into it. It works a lot like or an image email.
What language is that? What language is that? We're having a little difficulty hearing you. Sure.
Easily uploaded into this. Okay, is that better?
That's a little bit better. Yes, thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. I moved the mic a little closer. Thank you. Okay. So essentially, right there, just like you would an email attachment, I've uploaded an image into the website. We also include, so you don't have to have additional software. If you want to do some basic image editing, we have an image editor built right into the CMS browser window. I'm clicking on it here. There we go. And I can perform some basic image editing without the addition of, Photoshop software. It may not be as extensive, but for most users, we'll find that people maybe just need to resize an image. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. You can form a flip. You can rotate it. You can do a basic crop. You can save it. Actually, what that keeps the original, and then of course creates a thumbnail. Now, specifically being a government vendor, we're aware of the Section 508 ADA compliances that government organizations have on them. So every image that you upload to your website must have alternate text, and that is for a person with a visual impairment. They're using a screen reader. Needs to have that description there. Go ahead and put that here. Offices. If I did not put this in, our system actually would prompt you to input that, and then if you still ignored the prompt and did not input, we actually go ahead and place the name of the file there, again, keeping you compliant with those government regulations. As with most of our modules, the link can have a link. I've gone ahead and decided to link over to your commissions page. You also can place a link to an agenda, an email, as well as provide some additional details. I'm just going to pick it out. You can feature this event, display whether or not that facility is ADA compliant, or just don't display it all. So, the thing is, it's pretty much like filling out a form online. I'm going to click Save and Publish, and this box that's popping up is directly related to that Notify Me. So what this is doing here is, it's asking you if you want to notify the subscribers to this calendar that there's been a new item placed on the calendar. I have several different options. I choose to notify them on the start date. I can notify them immediately, or I can also just notify them a number of days in advance. Right here. There we go. It actually has some default email text that you're allowed to set. This comment box and the mobile text message information below is if you want to send additional information. So pretty much right here with that send, we've done a couple different. We have put the site. You'll now see that it's no longer in draft mode. We've actually posted it. We've updated the mobile site. We've connected any sites to us via SSS have been notified there's a change. We can actually, if you're doing some social media, we can actually connect your website to Facebook or Twitter and automatically post it to those accounts, so that's keeping you from doing redundant work there, as well as notified email or text message subscribers that there's been an item posted. So if I flip back over here to the main site and I refresh my browser page, just a moment here, I can now see that my Communications Commission is now on the calendar. If I click on it, I basically see that all the information that I included with that, like the picture, the date, the time, the address, the email link, a link over to your current site where we get the page about the Communications Commission. I can also, if you remember, I put in the exact address. As well as populate that destination to get directions, allowing a citizen or a community member or visitor to easily get to the location that they want. I'm going to close that. There's pretty much an unlimited. This can be actually connected via iCal or ISS. We can also set your site up. This is an option, but if you have a lot of civic groups or community events where you would want citizens to submit events, we can set you up an easy way that they can submit an event. However, that would not go live until you approved it. You're allowed unlimited number of calendars. It's pretty easy to do, and it's a piece of cake. Most of our modules work pretty much in that way. And I'm going to hover over a list of the modules. I can certainly go over any of the others. It's just as easy to upload meeting agendas, meeting minutes, job postings. They all pretty much work the same way. So in the interest of time, and I know we've had some technical difficulty, I'm going to stop here, and CJ and I can take any questions. We'd be more than glad to answer any questions or talk about any of the functionality. I just want to make sure we leave you with time for those questions.
I have a question. Hey, Sean, this is Bob Arndt. Did you say there's an engagement platform that gathers information on the users that go to the website?
We actually tie, and I'm going to flip over here to the admin home. Every one of our Google Urchin, are you familiar with Google Analytics?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Google Urchin is like the big brother of Google Analytics, and every one of our clients, that's included, and it allows you to drill down into just about any statistic on your site that you would want, whether it's the most visited page, number of clicks that a community member or visitor on your site has clicked before they've left the site, landing page, most popular landing pages, most popular exiting pages, most popular document downloaded. It's very all-encompassing, and that is including yes.
This is Craig. I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Do you have, say, a document archiving, or you mentioned you have a posting system for PDFs and other documents that you might want to put out there for public consumption? Can you show that, and is there a way of tying that into, say, the meeting notices and agendas? You said that was tied in as well?
Yeah, we have actually, and it can get a little confusing. We actually have two types of those repositories. One is a document center, and that's where you would put, forms and things like that are not necessarily date-sensitive driven. Our archive center is typically where we tell people to put information that is date-sensitive driven, such as meeting minutes and agendas, because, again, being date-driven center, we actually can tie our other modules in to automatically archive that and put those in the archive center. To give you a real quick look at, I'm going to go back to the homepage here of my sales site. Again, ours is laid out, a little different than you might. But the document center, again, for those things that are not date center driven, click on it. Going to pull it up. It looks a lot like the hard drive of a computer. You can create folders. You can upload documents. The nice thing about this as well is you can upload text files, Excel documents, Microsoft Word documents. And then you can actually select it to automatically convert it to PDF if you want, or you can actually keep them just in their native format. Our archive center works, like I said, in a similar way where you can directly upload a document to the archive center. But as you mentioned, Craig, we have the ability to tie the agenda center and some of those type of workflow type documents directly in the archive center, where it's automatically pushed over into the archive center after a certain period of time. Did that answer your question?
Well, it does, but it just segues into another one. If I may, can you give us an example of some of the online forms that you may have
Sure.
associated with it? And also, I noticed one of the modules was an e-payment center.
Okay. Well, real quick on the online forms, not sure how much I actually have. I've got quite a few. Yeah, I've got a few on my demo site. This really is customizable for you. There is no limit to the number of forms you have. You essentially create categories, and that's completely up to you, as detailed as you want to get or as broad as you get. And then within those categories, you can create forms that fit whatever that need is. And on those forms, you have the ultimate customization, is what I want to say. So, if you want to have a trash complaint form, essentially, and I think I clicked on one, I may have to log in. Yeah, this actually took me to our citizen request tracker, because this one actually might be something where you want to track the citizen has submitted that. So, they can be tied into our citizen request tracker, or you can just have a form that maybe just, gathers input and submits that to a citizen. Does that kind of answer the form question?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And you're unlimited. It's really as deep as you want to go or as simple as you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
We have some clients that have 40 or 50 forms. The nice thing is, based on some of these, this particular form doesn't necessarily have it, but this form could be directed to a specific department. Other forms, like I showed on Manitowoc, based on those check boxes that they check, maybe they checked, I wanted, something about a park. Well, maybe that goes to whoever in your organization handles park. Whereas if they check the street lights out, that might go to the utilities or the Public Works Commission. So it's very flexible. And let's see, your next question was e-payment.
Yes.
Essentially, any of our our forms can be tied into e-payment. And I don't have, I'm looking here, unfortunately, I don't necessarily see, I was looking to see, sometimes we get caught with a question off guard, and I don't necessarily have that enabled on my demo site. But essentially, the e-payment module works in much the same way. It's a form where people can, fill out their information. We direct you. We actually don't handle the e-payment stuff internally. We're not the processor. We use a third party, and we just provide hooks into their system. So essentially, they fill out their information, the amount they're paying, their payment information. We essentially then pass that through the payment gateway, and then we return, the paid. Our vendor that handles the actual payment, I think they deposit the funds into your account. I think it's 7 p.m., I want to say, Eastern Time, every night.
I just wanted to make sure that you had I knew that the functionality was there and going over it, but I wanted other people to be aware that the functionality was available as well.
Yeah, it's there. We also, we have the ability, obviously it's a website. We have some clients that use that. We have some clients that already have a great rapport, with an e-payment, a third-party e-payment vendor. Mm-hmm. And it's, it's as simple as a click over to, send them to that site as well. So, we try to provide a solution, but also be as flexible, realize maybe our solution isn't a one-size-fits-all.
May I ask a question? This is Kathy Walker, the chairman, talking, just so you know who you're speaking with. What is your average population of your vendors? You say on your website that... Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of that question. Can you say that again?
The average size of the population of the cities that you are doing this for.
Or a range.
Yeah, demographics. The demographics.
I was actually going to say, I really couldn't tell you the average. In that 1,000 clients, we have some clients that actually are, hover right around 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a small city, and then we actually have some large county clients that use our system. I think of 250, 300,000 people. So the range really is way out there.
But that's a bell-shaped curve.
I could probably get you, more specifics, but we go anywhere from 1,000, or I think there's even a few less. I think I've seen one that's like 850 people.
But those would be your outliers.
All the way up to the 100,000.
Yeah, those would be your outliers. What would be your base, your core? You guys obviously are very detail-oriented, and I would think you'd have this information available.
Our core, I would say our core is probably, this is going to sound like a big range, it's probably the 15 to 40,000.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right in there, 10 to 40,000. Mm-hmm. Again, with our sales model, the nice thing for the smaller communities is our pricing model is based off, the size of your community and a few other small factors. But you essentially, when you choose Civic Plus, you get the same design team, the same project managers, and the same product as a county of 250,000 people. All the same functionality is in there, whether or not you choose to use it. On the same end, we attract several of those larger counties. I think because of design and the fact that we've not tried to force anybody into a specific module within our system, they can pick and choose. Those larger, much larger counties, they use our CMS for a lot of content updating. Some of the modules that really ease the administration, but they also might tie us into their GIS system or, into an internal system as well. So,
what about the pricing model you just mentioned? Since you seem to have sales between 40, the demographics are 40 to 10,000 to 10 to 40,000. What would be the pricing module for that specific area? And then after that,
all done off, and CJ, I'll let you answer that, because that's really done off the pricing engine. So, go ahead, CJ. Sorry. CJ. Did I lose CJ? Did he leave me on the spot? No. there he is. Okay.
The pricing model is it's something to be discussed. Probably not so much here as much as offline, because there's content development, how you want to be trained. There's a whole series of variables that go into that. I believe Craig was able to find some relevant pricing that we were able to say, yeah, that's kind of the right area. There's a lot more questions to be answered in it. And so from the fact-finding perspective, this is kind of where we left it from.
Oh, you're saying that, I'm sorry, you're saying that Mr. Pilkington already has this information?
No, I was able to do a Google search, and because they publish so many of these things online, there are some license and operating agreements between Civic Plus and different municipalities over the past, say, 24 months. They give you an idea of the model. But this is very much module-driven, and so the pricing is going to fluctuate dramatically with those modules that you choose to incorporate.
Like an a la carte meal, so to speak.
Without question, yeah.
And the maintenance, is there maintenance, a maintenance fee? For example, say we went with this, and that's the cart before the horse, obviously. But is it, besides having setup fees and module fees and all that, is there a maintenance fee on a monthly basis?
In year 2 and 3, yes, there are maintenance fees that are associated with, because this is a SaaS model product. So essentially, you're using you've got no hardware to purchase, or software to purchase, or updates to purchase. So it's the ongoing fee that is the service that you're buying when you buy into the Civic Plus solution. Yeah.
What kind of range are we talking? Just rough and dirty averages?
It's a number that's tied also to the project development. So it varies based on that, but I think it's pretty typical of software license agreements to be something to the tune of between 10 and 18% of the project development fee. I came from a former software job that seemed to be the average license fee for a software as a service model of a business.
Is it fair to say that if you were in the anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a year?
Yes, that's fair to say. Yeah.
That would be a fair
Total year or monthly?
A year, and then
per year.
you can have it broken out monthly if you choose.
Okay, so it's an annualized fee. You get paid once a year? Or do you do it do you get a monthly stipend?
It's up to you. I mean, if you prefer to have it be a monthly fee, I believe the county will set it up as a monthly fee. Or some folks, some partners do go ahead and pay that up front.
And after you said after the second and third year, what happens in the fourth year, the fifth year? What happens after
Well,
that?
with everything, you always have the option to choose a different path, a different direction. So it's an annual re-up, if you will, because it's a service. You could get to the end of a calendar year and say, we've chosen to go a different route. We do maintain a fairly high retention rate, which is nice, somewhere in the neighborhood of 97% right now.
And how
But
many,
every year, you would be notified that, hey, this is what the maintenance is going to be for the next year, so that you can put it into the budget and account for those.
how many clients do you currently have?
I believe this month we eclipsed 1,000.
1,000? Okay. And there is no hardware for us to purchase and no software, so in essence, we own nothing. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And
And so much as the data, if you're wondering kind of down the road, in the data, if you chose to go a different direction, you would have all this data in the site scrape, and all this information would be then passed back to you, so that you could do with it what you chose. But the actual content manager, the things that you see on the screen there that Sean's showing you, the content management software all resides in that secure production environment. And so with the web connection, you're able to access your own account, be it make updates and changes for not only just a computer, but for all mobile devices too. In fact, I think we're mobile first, and then the application site second. So that if there was a police page that they wanted to update an alert, you could do so from a phone or from a computer. Alert any of those types of things. So log in using a secure login and access ID, and then you've got the ability to update your site.
You mentioned that there is a gatekeeper, so to speak, that to be reviewing things before it goes up, and I think you mentioned that it was full-time. Is that on your side, that if somebody wanted to post something, that somebody would review it on your side?
No, that's on your side.
On our side.
That's really up to you and configurable as much as you'd like. You can have, and that's even down to the module or the category level. For example, if you wanted to give a specific calendar, someone the ability to add calendar items, but it needed somebody else in your organization to approve that before it went live, you have that ability. But that's up to you.
Okay.
We don't act as a gatekeeper to your website or your data.
Last question, and this is worst case scenario. Something happens to your company, and things happen all the time. Where would we be? Say Civic Plus, there was the grid happened like we had a couple years ago with the electronics. Where would we be? Would we be down? Or say Civic Plus suddenly went away as a company? Not that this is worst case scenario, I'm just going with it. What happens to our information?
It's a good question, very valid question, especially if you're placing your trust in Civic Plus. The same question had probably entered the mind of all the other communities who are our partners. I think when you get into that place, we go and we start talking about our data center and the careful steps that are taken where that content manager resides. Again, we also talked about redundancy, daily backups, and then we also have a failover into another data center production environment. And I believe, Sean will back me up, that there's a third failover point as well. If A fails, goes to B, B fails, there's actually a C, but that is currently in production. But that's an excellent question, because you've got the same question if you hosted it yourself, and it resided there on your own servers.
I was also not just inferring in case of the grid, but in case of a financial situation where, and we've all seen this, one day there's a business, the next day we go to it, it's not there. What happens to our stuff?
In our service contract, again, we've been around a long time, and 1,000 clients, over 1,000 clients are depending on us. You have an excellent question. In our service contract, we actually, it's hard for me to think about it that would happen, but we actually are contractually obligated to give you the current revision of the content management system and your data at that time. Does that kind of answer? And that's actually what happens if you would choose after that contract period not to go with us, you can actually request the current version of our software to run on your own servers, and your data at that time. Of course, you will not be provided any updates, support, and that type of thing. But like I said, when we get down to that point, you review our contract. That's what we're obligated to provide you.
So if I could, if there were a catastrophic event financially, and you became insolvent, then there's some way or some guarantee in the contract, or certainly we could add a caveat or study that to make sure that if you defaulted, that your customers, or that we were still going to be able to get that code, get our data table.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You have access to the compiled code. Obviously, like I said, we're running a .NET platform. You would be responsible for your own hardware at that time, that kind of thing. But yes, we are contractually obligated to you for that. With that in mind, I think that's also a great question that our official proposal that goes out, we actually have, we encourage you to check, we provide several references. We encourage encourage you to check our references. We also, and this is just something for me because I thought it was unique, we also have a letter from our bank there talking about the owner of the company and kind of, I'm not a finance guy, but kind of explaining that the solvency issue and how well the company is doing. Providing you as much reassurance as anybody could.
Thank you.
How long have you been in business? The company?
We actually have been, our company has been in business roughly, it started out as a company called Networks Plus, I think about 19 years ago. And what it was an outsourced IT shop. And they existed for, I think, approximately 9 years or so. And they were approached, our first client on the Civic Plus side was Colby, Kansas. And they approached Networks Plus, who specialized in outsourcing government IT services. They approached them about a content management system so that they could update their website themselves, keep the data fresh. And that's kind of how Civic Plus started. And I think that was in company started maybe in 92, Networks Plus. And I want to say that was right around 2000, 2001. Civic Plus officially was started.
Okay, I'm sure I'll have many more questions,
Yeah.
but thank you so much.
Just on the
Sure, no, I
functionality.
think those are all great questions. What, Craig?
Just on the functionality, of course, we've got Granicus as a. Is there a way to either incorporate Granicus, or what do you offer, and what as
We actually
an
offer,
option?
we have a media center module, and it's actually our first revision. When I say first revision, it's our first stab at it. It is, I will tell you and be upfront, it's not as robust as Granicus. We have our sights set on that. Granicus is certainly a wonderful product. Essentially, you add channels to our media center module, and you can either upload video or you can stream video directly. So that's kind of our first stab at that. It's Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I'm not going to visit that site right now, but I can give you some examples of some of our clients, Craig, if you'd like, that use that media center module. It essentially takes any feed, encodes it, and then presents it on the website. Right now it's Flash-based. We are getting ready to look at moving that to an HTML5-based video stream to better accommodate a larger portion of the video, mobile device market. But we also have a lot of clients that have Granicus and incorporate us into that either by pulling their Granicus portal, into an iframe, so they still maintain their navigation, their global navigation in view, or by linking us over directly. So
That's thanks.
Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering. I wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be any prohibition against implementing and incorporating
Oh my goodness, no.
the Granicus.
No, and that's we tie in. I mean, because again, it all depends on which level of the product that you have. As far as the third party product, we have no problem working to tie in. Again, we can load a lot of stuff inside of an iframe because many of those products, especially like Granicus, also come as a service type subscription. So we can load those into an iframe. We do that with document management systems. If you have an internal document imaging system, we have again with 1,000 clients, we've got a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and we try to stay flexible. So yeah.
A survey module. Do you have one?
We have one of the survey modules. We have the opinion poll, which we tell people that's not really meant for a scientific type survey or voting. It's more meant to gauge a quick mood. You get basic results back. What fits in a lot of that is that same form, because again, in the forms module, building out a form, you can collect any kind of data that you want, and then that data again is either sent via email or it's stored on the back end in the database, and you can export that out as a comma delimited file for advanced analysis if you'd like.
Okay. And our senior member here is Pam Frucci, and who's kind of the matriarchs, I think, of our Did you have any questions,
Township
Pam?
liaison.
I'm sorry?
She's our township liaison.
Do you have any questions for them?
Yes, I've been listening as well as I could. I'm kind of down the line here. And I haven't heard everything that you've been saying, but I do have a couple questions as I'm listening to you. Was wondering what your relationship is with your clients. Do you handle the website, or do you let the local administrator handle the website? Am I hearing that you work as a team? If you could just clarify the relationship between you and your client.
Okay. Well, really, I mean, the content management system, I mean, it's our product. We handle all the technical stuff. But certainly, we like to compare it to, we're going to build you a really nice car, but when we're done building that car, we're going to give you the keys, because it's your community's website and it's your community's information, and no one is going to know that better than you. So we build that car, we give you the keys, we train you how to drive it, but then you guys are responsible for keeping that up to date. Now the nice thing is, again, with that pricing model, and with our agreement, is we provide all the service and support with that. So if you've forgotten, if you're in taking care of something that maybe you only do, once or twice a year, and you forgot, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you can pick up the phone, dial somebody, and call Manhattan Kansas, and they'll walk you through it as many times as you want and as much as you want. And that's that support model. Outside of those hours, it actually goes to a call center, and we, we gauge up whether that's considered an emergency, if you will, but we're still there, and you can get a call back. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Had a couple more here. Have you actually seen our website?
Yes, I have looked at it, yes.
And have you done an evaluation?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily for us to do. I see good things on your website. Really, I kind of have some rose-colored glasses, so when I look at a community's website that we're talking to, I don't always mean to do it, but I immediately start seeing parts of their website that would fit into our modules, because typically in the demos, that's the kind of stuff that happens to me. So we don't necessarily do an evaluation of your current website as much as, like I said, we start looking to make sure that we're a good fit. On your current site, I see you got a special notice about Michigan Department of Transportation Fort Street closure. In my mind, that's a perfect item for a news flash or an alert center. You have a lot of good pages with your content for your commissions and your committees and the departments. So, I mean, again, we don't necessarily do an evaluation, but I tend to look at it as like, how can we start fitting that into our system and give you guys the ability to keep that content fresh and easy to navigate.
I'm also on the township board, and our budget year is beginning like in February or March, and then we finalize the budget by the end of March, and the fiscal year starts April 1st. And I'm wondering, after we've heard your presentation and had our own discussion, and we asked you to send a proposal for serving us as, what would you be called? You're not the webmaster, you're the vendor? Okay. We're operating on a rather tight budget, and we certainly want to come up with the best product for our community. We're about 11,000 people on Rosedale. And as a board member and a member of the commission, we need to see if your proposal is going to fit our budget for the Communications Commission. We do cable, and they broadcast our township board meetings and a lot of the commission meetings. This is being broadcast. But we would have to see an actual proposal and what you can do that would make us decide that we can afford your services. And in watching your presentation, I was very interested in, is it Manitowoc, Wisconsin, or I just saw it briefly on the screen here.
Guys, are you there? She was asking, yes, whether it was Manitowoc, Wisconsin, yes.
Manitowoc.
Yeah, man.
And if I wanted to see that and spend a little more time looking at it, do I just click on Manitowoc?
Right here, Pam.
Oh,
The population, 34,000.
Could you send us a list, or do you have, of course, you've got your portfolio on your site, so somebody could easily go to your site, I think, and take a look at a number of those sites
Okay.
and see how they're structured.
Okay. Those were my questions.
I don't have any. I think all of them were pretty much addressed. My main concerns were obviously with the online forms, whether there were survey capabilities, whether or not there was a pay module, as well as the archives of documents.
Okay.
I have another question. This is Kathy Walker again. You said you have availability for servicing 7 to 7. Well, a lot of times things go down at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And would there be, first of all, are there extra fees for these call-in questions? Or is it, as long as this is part of the package? Or is it after hours or on weekends that it would cost us a lot more to have, assistance?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the full question. I had trouble hearing that. Can you repeat that, or Craig, can you?
I'll try again. You have 7 to 7 availability for call-in with problems, correct? 7 a.m.?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Is that built into the contract fee?
Yes.
If you are outside of the parameters of 7 to 7 on Monday through Friday or on the Saturday and Sunday, is that outside the contract parameters, and is there an additional fee?
Well, actually, what that goes, like I said, we really have 24/7, 365-day support. And what I like to clarify is that 7 to 7 actually rings a person that is at a desk in Manhattan, Kansas directly. We have a support team. It rings directly there. After that, it goes to essentially a call center, and then we try to, we will still handle everything. It's still part of it. But what we do is that at that point, we look at the situations that, is this an emergency that's escalated immediately, or is this something that can wait till tomorrow, or is this something they can deal with there? Does that kind of make sense?
Well,
7 to 7 covers the continental United States for us.
it's a priority-based system, but my real question is it part of the regular fee, or is there an additional charge? Because that can be very pricey. We often have things go down, and I think all of us here have said that, and, right now we simply make a phone call and it's handled.
Well, we guarantee, again, we're hosting the hardware and the software, so we guarantee a 99.7% uptime on your website.
And if you don't reach that, what happens?
Well, if we don't reach that, and again, I don't know all the, specific, details of the contract and the SLA, but there is a service level agreement that is included with that, that is included with that contract. And I can certainly get back with you on those answers. I just don't know, the answers off the top of my head.
Okay.
Well, maybe it would be excellent for us to, to have this discussion and to put together, each one of us, additional questions that we could put to them. And of course, this was supposed to be fact-finding.
Yeah, most certainly. Hey, Craig.
Sir?
If I may, I'd like Sean to describe the tornado situation in Alabama, and hopefully this will convey the difference between an emergency versus somebody needs to post a calendar event at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. But I think that's kind of what we alluded to is tiered service levels.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We host the website for
Alabama, and we know that they had their tornadoes last year. Now, our data center is located in Kansas City in a Tier 2 federal facility, so it's always up. But what we found in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, was when the tornadoes went through, they actually lost a lot of their city's infrastructure, but their website was still up. It's at our data center. It's protected. It's backed up. They were having trouble, just getting the infrastructure in their community to update the website to inform citizens. So what they were able to do is they called. It actually rang over to our after-hours line, and they actually were dispatched to our my boss, which is the vice president of marketing and sales. With that, we got in contact with them because they still had cell phone service, oddly enough, and we actually were making updates for them at no cost to their website during all of that. And really one of the key updates was it wasn't so much the tornado and the accident had passed, but by city ordinance, they could not contract any services until a bid had been posted for at least 24 hours. Through coordinating with them on the phone, we were posting that information to their website. So within 24 hours, they were able to say that the bid had been posted. They received, not necessarily electronically, but they had received the bid. And we all know they were kind of waiting there with them anyway. But they were able to also publish where those locations for debris haul-off could be and essentially get their citizens back into their community. So again, that tiered service isn't necessarily that we don't support you or there's a huge extra charge. It's just we kind of reserve that time, with those hours that I mentioned, that you're literally going to be directed immediately to a desk in Manhattan, Kansas. After that, we kind of evaluate, like Craig said, like CJ said, on a case-by-case basis, that, is this something that is literally an emergency and has to be taken care of now, or is this, like CJ said, a posting a calendar item that maybe could wait till tomorrow? Let me say on top of that, Civic Plus University that we just kind of mentioned briefly, and you can go there now, civicplusuniversity.com. We have all of our manuals, all of our training webinars out there available. So really, any time of the day, if you want a refresher or you want to see how something is done, that information is out there so a person can, kind of refresh themselves. It's just literally that window where the phone line's going to ring, a direct person sitting at a desk waiting on it.
Thank you.
Huh?
Any other questions for anybody? Because my battery's about ready to run out.
And this has been a lot longer than we anticipated, too, for the meeting. So we should move along, then.
You guys have given a great presentation, given us a lot to think about, and is it fair to say that we'll discuss amongst ourselves and possibly put together some questions and then get back in touch with them in the future? Fair to say?
Right.
Gentlemen, thank you so very, very much. You did beautiful work.
You too, Craig.
And have a great evening.
Have a pleasant evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, that was interesting. Do we want to discuss it any further, or do we want to move on to our agenda? This was a lot to digest in one moment. Opinions?
I had a question, Nate. How did you discover Civic Plus? Were you the one that spotted them and brought them to it?
I understand that somebody, CJ contacted Brian Loftus, apparently. And I talked to him afterwards, and he has gone through, like any good salesperson, you're going through and you're soliciting different municipalities within a given area. And that's what, any salesperson does that. And he just happened to hit on that and contacted Brian. Apparently, I think Brian forwarded that to you, correct? Mm-hmm. Forwarded the information to you?
Yeah, I was asked to set up a meeting, and as it turned out, you set up the meeting. So my question is just, for full disclosure, does anyone on this group have any business connection with Civic Plus? Because we should, be very upfront. If anybody has any business with them, personal relationships, because I don't know the people. No?
I had never spoken to them until probably about a week ago when I sent you a reminder.
Great.
And then Brian asked me if I could get in touch with them so that we could have something for the meeting. I had not spoken to him before that.
And Bob, you don't have any business relationships? Good. No, let's move forward. That way we're up front. There's no...
Another question I had as I was listening to him, is there a great difference between Civic Plus and Foxfire that the school is using?
CMS systems? I think you'd find, I don't think that's
Are we unplugging?
Civic Plus. Am I on now? Yeah. Civic Plus is a prime provider of CMS systems throughout the country, and they've made government or municipal government that happens to be a target market for them. Fox Bright out of Grand Rapids has done the same thing, but basically school systems. There's a company called MuniWeb, and can anybody remember there's an eGov or something along those lines? There are about 4 majors that provide CMS systems to municipal governments throughout the country.
So it's Fox Bright?
Fox Bright.
Okay. Fox Bright is more located, they're aiming more at school systems?
Well, they're aiming more at school systems, but if you look at the package and the functionality, it's still a CMS platform. You've got a relational database as a backbone, so many of your capabilities, I think, would be the same.
And as I recall, when we had the school liaison with Jennifer Park, that they're paying, was it $15,000 for Fox Bright? And this guy, if I heard him right, said between $1,500 and...
No, that's
It's the
maintenance.
maintenance fee.
That's maintenance.
It's the maintenance fee.
Maintenance,
here, too,
annual
I think.
maintenance fee.
What I was able to find online, and of course so many municipalities publish these things, is that you're probably looking at a range between 10 and 26,000, and realistically 15 to 25,000 is probably the range in the first year to get everything, to get almost all the bells and whistles on the thing. So it's. I think they've got some different payment plans for spreads, but frankly, that's really putting the cart before the horse, so it's not even worth discussing at this point. This was supposed to be an information gathering meeting to talk about the flexibility of the systems.
There is a lot of cart before the horse. We haven't even voted to if we want a new website. That hasn't been voted. None of that has been, but this was interesting, I felt.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that there are other vendors that we can, if in fact we'd want to expand our knowledge base, that we could have a meeting, perhaps they even come in to talk to us. It might be a little easier. But as Granicus did many times, we had people come in.
Well, if I could just address that, it's one of the reasons that I thought there were 2 things. Number one, the go-to-meeting technology, which I think is an interesting technology, and I don't think that the township has used to a large degree to accept product presentations, and it brings to our public, even though it was really rough tonight, another technology that's available that allows them to actually see some of it on screen. The other thing was I didn't want them to come up, spend the money, and then feel obligated in some way, shape, or form because one had come from Lawrence or Manhattan, Kansas, and somebody else had come from Columbus, Ohio. I think we need to be able to approach these things in purely black and white fashion without any obligation whatsoever for any reason.
That's what salesmen do. They come and they pay.
I understand.
And there's no obligation because that's why you do bids.
I just like remaining a little more distant, I suppose.
Okay, it's 7:30. We have spent much more of the evening than probably we were going to on this. Would anybody like to just think about what we've heard, perhaps exchange emails on points of interest, and we could really delve into it in another meeting or probably a meeting in between our regular meetings, so we could really talk about it, because, you know, having a meeting that goes longer than 2 hours usually isn't that productive. Is everybody on board with that? You know, assemble your ideas and email. We seem to be emailing a lot lately. Is that okay?
It's all good.
Okay, good. Okay, then we'll move on to the agenda. Establish schedule for upcoming meetings. If you'll notice on the third page of your minutes from November 9th, there is the nightly meeting calendar. Last month, I was asked to investigate possibility of different times, because this seems to be difficult for people who have a long distance to come, and we want to appreciate that. And we have to fit into Pam, our liaison's schedule, which is very crowded and busy, as I well know. So is there some other time that is available here? Because the third Wednesday, there is a festival commission that was offered last time at 7:30. We would have to be in and out very quickly if we wanted to start at 6 and be done by 7:30 for the festival commission. Or is there any date in here that you would like to look at?
Are they the third Wednesday?
Third Wednesday, it's right here. It's attached to your.
I don't have the minutes.
Okay, right here. Take a look. What would be convenient for everyone?
Well, second Wednesday's available.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. But last time you said, you know, people didn't want to do this, so I'm giving you the options that are available at hand.
I think those are fine for me.
Okay, now we're back to second Wednesday. Is that-
Second Wednesday sounds good.
Okay. Craig, is 6 o'clock?
Well, the 6 o'clock is always the push, I think. I mean, how does that fit in? Has it got to be 6 o'clock if it's on the second Wednesday?
I was hoping that maybe we could make it a bit later, 7 o'clock.
Okay. Would you want, is 7 o'clock available for everyone?
Or 7:30.
No, I'd say 7.
7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not go too late.
Then let's set it up at 7 o'clock on the second Wednesday. If everyone's in agreement. I don't think we need a vote on that. And I'll pass that on to Carol Knopp, who maintains the nightly meeting calendar. And so now we have it set up for the second Wednesday of the month. Do we want to meet monthly, quarterly? How are we going on that?
I say monthly.
All right. Pam? Monthly?
I think so.
Okay, Bob?
I think monthly's too often.
Bob thinks it's too often. Craig?
I would still go with monthly. I think there are a lot of issues, and we're talking about a lot of different things, and I'd like to see monthly.
And we do have a budget discussion coming up just after the new year. Because February, they sit down with all the department heads and come up with a budget that is discussed in February and finalized in March.
I, too, think monthly is too often, but I have no problem being flexible as far as
And it could be short.
going month by month. If we feel that there's not a big agenda item coming up in the next month, we could always have a month break, play it by ear. So are we on then for January's meeting, the second Wednesday? Is everybody on board with that? Craig?
Sure.
Okay, Pam? Right, and I'll get the date. I don't have a calendar in front of me. You do? And what would be the second Wednesday
It'll
in
be
June?
the 11th.
The 11th, January 11th at 7 p.m. I will pass this information on to our website person, and he will update our calendar. So
Isn't this the second Wednesday?
Yes, it is. But we were,
Switched it.
we tried to see if we could do the third Wednesday. I did investigate it, and as we found out, I sent emails to everyone the next day after our meeting. I think it was the 10th of November, to say that would not work for us. So now we've got that addressed. Let's move on. Vacancies on Communication Commission. Mr. Evans. I've just passed out the information to our commissioners prior to you coming here. I see that You publish an advertising magazine. In fact, I had it at home and I was reviewing it before I came. And you say you are very interested to help improve our communications to our residents for all island activities and to help island business prosper more through our several means of media. To accomplish the aforementioned, I could be an asset to the Commission with marketing and advertising, 20 years of experience. Well, would you like to talk about your talents and where you feel you could really help us?
Certainly, Kathy. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I've been in the marketing and advertising for 20 years now, and hence our title is Communication Commission. Through all the means of media that we have, through our own cable TV, through mailings, through direct marketing, through our own businesses that can communicate to our residents, and all the activities that we have here, I would like to help the Commission in of the platform that you have, including the website too, of the platform that you have. I'd certainly like to help increase and inform more and just bring more information to the residents and again to the businesses. Through all the marketing and the advertising I've done over these 20 years, we have sold millions of dollars of advertising, and we've been very successful. According to the people that we're just talking to on the website, that they have 97% retention in their advertising, in their website clients. Ours is very, very close as well, too. We have very many happy customers with us, and the only reason why they are is they get results. That's because we work really hard for them. That's what I would like to do for our community.
Help me out here. You advertise for businesses, but since the government is separate from the businesses, how would that work? Because we don't even advertise. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. You had a real passionate statement that we should not have the businesses on the website, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we have, there are prohibitions. I mean, there are prohibitions against doing that, but I think what I'm hearing Will saying is not just the businesses. He's talking about, I think, bringing more activity and communicating. You can still communicate to the residents about activities that are going on in the community that they can participate in that would still be indirectly beneficial, certainly to business. I mean, I'm all for, and I think we all are, trying to find ways to generate more activity, whether it's down on Macomb Street or down at or at Commerce Park. And I think we still do that within the letter of the law without putting ourselves at risk.
Well, I'm always concerned about conflict of interest. Since you are being paid by a lot of the businesses, that always concerns me. If you're paid by businesses on gross seal, we don't want to, jeopardize our venue, so to speak.
Definitely, Kathy. There's a line in the sand here. This is not for monetary motivation in any means whatsoever. And the businesses that do marketing and advertising with us directly, that's what they do with us. But my desire to be on this commission would be to help the community and to underline what the title of this commission is, Communication Commission. And through the means of the medias, all that we have, let's help communicate to the residents and the surrounding communities all the great events that we have here on Grosse Ile. Hence, I had written that down in that application as well. And Craig, you're spot on with telling more people about the good things that we do over here. Cross that bridge. Come over and
It's a tough pull, but I agree with you, getting people here.
Absolutely. And come on over here and enjoy all the things that we do and the festivals that we have and all the events that we have. That would have a trickle-down effect to the commerce of our community businesses as well, too.
Very valid. Go ahead.
Well said,
Thank
Will.
you.
Well,
Thank you.
let me endorse what you're saying, because I tried to send out Michigan Township Association, we're a member of, and I get their magazine monthly. And I told the commission last time we met that I was going to send them a page out of the MTA magazine using the township website as an economic development tool. And my computer had a malfunction and I wasn't able to send emails out, but now it's back up and running. And I'll send this to the commissioners, but let me just read the introductory paragraph here. Your township website may be the only online representation of your community that potential new businesses see on the internet if they're considering your geographical region for a project. The same may be said for a Michigan company that is looking to expand its market. Don't have an economic development section on your website? Consider adding one. And I think we can, not advertise businesses, but we can promote Groseal as an ideal place to do business, educated clientele, surrounded by woods and water and, the amenities that we can offer, and just crossing the bridge shouldn't be a barrier to getting people here to open some of our stores that are closed down. So I don't see a conflict in marketing Groseal. We wouldn't be advertising businesses, but we're saying this is an ideal place to do business.
Here, right.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any comments?
Hi, Will. How you doing?
Good. How are
I
you?
just have a question. I think in order to move the ball forward, we have to have people that are technically savvy. I don't want to put you on the spot, but the reason is that in order to even understand a presentation like today, you have to understand what they're saying, what SAS is, and how it operates. And bring in new ideas, like some people are, to the table so we can explore and make the communications committee better. So I was wondering where you lie in the technical chart.
Thank you for your question. And I would, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would put myself at about a 7. And to be going right through the front door with that as well, too. But what I've learned in business is to hire people better than me. And so this way I can communicate with them and they can bring other ideas to the table. And as a group, as a whole, then you take the ideas that you have with all the bullet points, you pick the best from those, and you move forward.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to have us vote on this new candidate because the township meets on the 9th of January and we meet on the 11th. And it would be great if you were officially, if we voted and you were officially on board, and then you could come to our next meeting as a member of the commission.
Okay. I'll motion that Will Evans become a member of the Communications Commission.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Then Will Evans has been voted on and approved unanimously to be on the Communication Commission, and it'll be forwarded, our recommendation will be forwarded to the Township Trustees by our liaison, Pam Frucci. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Did anybody mention to Will that he's supposed to provide snacks for the food?
Yeah, we're going to need a pizza every time we meet.
Welcome, Will.
Yeah. It's going to be tough.
There's a breaking in period. And I'd also like to bring Linda Solano on board and put her on the consideration before the township board. And if there's a feeling that she is an off-islander, that we could have a discussion and then perhaps we could come up with a means of making this fall into our ordinance.
Wasn't this already discussed at the township trustee meeting? Lauren, didn't you mention that?
Yeah.
It was discussed already, and they took it out of our hands, from my understanding.
Yeah, they just said that she couldn't be a voting member of
Yes.
the board. If she wanted to give updates or bring information to us or make recommendations, she certainly could do so, but she would not be a voting board member.
And that might not be enough for the school. Perhaps they would want someone who has voting rights. I would assume they would.
Yeah.
And we can contact them about that. It's unfortunate, but that's not our purview. That was the township trustees. So I think that's answered.
I think it makes sense to have a voting member.
Oh,
of the school.
if the person reported me, I'd want them to be able to vote. That's
Right.
very important.
Yeah.
If I could, the other option exists to invite her as a non-voting in an advisory capacity,
Capacity, yeah.
and still fill the seventh seat. I mean, we still have seven voting members. There's no limitation or prohibition on having
Right.
and a number of folks acting as in an advisory capacity to come and attend and participate.
We all need advice, let's be honest. But that would be up to the superintendent of schools who appoints this person, I would think. He might not want two people to come. It's up to them. The ball is in their court.
Have they been
basically.
contacted?
Not to my knowledge, but they will be tomorrow.
Okay.
So that'll be taken care of. So why don't we see where the school system, who is in charge of it, feels the need. And I will take that on as my duty. Next, we have the reports of the standing committees. Our Township Board Liaison, Pam Pucci.
I brought from my old files a newsletter, Channel 36 newsletter, and this was sent out by the Cable Commission in 1992 when Richard White was chairman. And it's just a 4-page, mentions your cable commission, that's what we were called then. Township board meetings, planning commission meetings, a bit on fire and police. They talked about public access channel that we used to have in Flat Rock and said you can really get involved as a TV producer and might want to do a special show. In the old days,
Yes.
we did do that.
But they offered you equipment and rooms, and all. They don't do that anymore.
No, it's a different story these days. But I don't know whether we need to publish a newsletter or on our website just keep people informed about what's going on.
If I may, I think it was in the November 9th minutes, we already had discussed it, and it was determined that that's out of our administrative scope, and that really falls in the clerk's department. Was that
I think is your concern, Pam, more that we stay real time with getting information out to the public on events, or do you feel that the newsletter had to reflect particular things, or just to be more vibrant, to portray the community in a more vibrant sense on our website?
Well, I think the Cable Commission hadn't been around that long, and this was really before the electronic age, where people could, I don't even think we had a website in '92.
No, I think it's been 14 years to my knowledge.
So I'm just thinking that we should get out to the public as much as we can what's going on.
Well, we did write an article, and I think you have another one that has been submitted to the camera. And I did hear a couple comments that were very positive about the Cable Commission and what's on the website just as recently as today, and our Facebook and our Twitter account from one of our employees who was dealing with the public who just moved here. So it's kind of nice to hear. And I also hear, when I hear something wrong too, I will pass that along if people are not happy with our website also, because we're always striving to do better. That I think we can always do better, and there's nothing that prevents us from trying to improve.
And as I read in our charges, we're to establish standards of quality, performance, and continuous improvement for all township communication media. And we are to ensure that a timely, accurate schedule for township broadcasts is widely available. And I think we want to make sure, Ted's not here, I understand he's had an accident.
I think he is working tonight, but he did have an accident while he was working at Boar's Head. I think he has a fracture in his hand, but he is working tonight. That's why he's not here.
He's working
for the township.
Oh.
I think they were short, and he wasn't planning on being here, but they were short-handed, and he aided them, even though he...
Who was shorthanded?
One of the staff who was going to do the project. So that's all I know. And he is working it now. But I'm sure he would have been here if he could have.
Because I think one of the things we have to make sure is that we have an up-to-date schedule of events. And I looked at the bulletin board that kind of runs with activities, and I thought I had heard a criticism that there were so many different fonts that were used. But when I looked at it, it looked good to me, and I thought the very tight style gave it a little more variety. So if we're to make sure that there's good quality and continuous improvement, I think we should maybe have some sort of report at each meeting, what we have observed as a commission in reviewing our website and our shows that are aired, and just to make sure they're in that upper level of quality, because that's what we've been charged with.
But what are those standards of quality? Those are not identified, at least that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Are you done, Kay?
I'm thinking that maybe that could be a future discussion, is what level we want to achieve our media that goes out, and then do a critique at each commission meeting of how we view it, and just make sure that we're up to a certain level at least. I don't know whether we have to write it out so it's a document, or whether we can just discuss it among ourselves to see if we're measuring up to a high level of quality, whatever goes out to the public.
Well, I was going to bring that up in the chairman's report a little bit. There have been a lot of questions recently from the commissioners. A lot of, why is this way, why is it that way? And usually the answers are pretty obvious when you look. But I think that it would be most helpful if we had Ted come in with his immediate report, which would be Dale Ream, the township manager, and he could go through the responsibilities and what he sees as Ted's duties. And as I sent out this week, I went through, I had a meeting to find out what our one employee does with his time. And I think it was eye-opening to me how much time he spends in different areas. His job is not just the website. He's spread so thin, and how involved he is. I mean, I sent this out last night. You have 442 web pages he touches. I mean, who knew there was that many
Those
pages?
are links.
Links, whatever. He has access to them, and he has to update a lot of the stuff. And there's a lot more than I was shocked how many pages or links he had to deal with. So Dale will be here at the next meeting with Ted, and they can answer your questions and about the standards, what the expectations are, the whole bailiwick. So I think that kind of will help us in our charge to do better and better as we want to for the website and the community.
By any chance, did Dale provide you with a job description?
I do not have his job description.
I think I do.
Okay. Alrighty, new business, presented by Civic Plus, we already did that. Website updates, processing and timing, and I just said, sure.
It's kind of nice that Dale's coming. There's an email that went out. It keeps rumbling around in my head. The email said something like, Ted doesn't even report to the cable commission, he reports to his immediate supervisor.
No, Ted reports. If you look on the chart, the employee chart, he does not report to us. He reports to his immediate supervisor. He is very gracious with us. It tries to incorporate everything we offer, and I've seen that for the 2 years I've been here. They mentioned Facebook. He does. In fact, he was the one who wanted Facebook and Twitter.
No, I'm just curious. So whatever we come up with, does he have to follow it, or?
I would think that would be answered by his immediate
Well,
report.
that's what I said. I'm glad you're bringing Dale in.
Yes.
Because we need to know that.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm wondering, what are we doing here?
Well, I had a lot of when last meeting there were a lot of statements made that I let be said. I didn't challenge them, but I felt that the person who can give you the straight talk would be his direct report, and I think that's what we need, the straight talk on his reporting responsibilities, and so that will be arranged.
Well, it still doesn't change. It still doesn't change the fact that our challenge is to set standards, set guidelines, and whether or not.
If we can't administer them.
Excuse me?
If we can't administer them, how?
It doesn't matter. We would communicate those then to Dale, and I think that was an understanding from the get-go. And then it's incumbent upon Dale, and Dale can choose to ignore it, or Dale can choose to ask Ted to execute upon it. But I still think it's our challenge to do this. And if it's not our challenge, then we need to go back to our board and say, even though you've asked us to do these things, it's fairly obvious we're not going to be able to.
Well, it's also fairly obvious with one employee, you have limitations. And to not face that fact is naive. I mean, there's only 40 hours in a day, or 40 hours in a week, rather, 8 hours in a day, and everything should be perfect. But it's not.
Kathy, you said that in your email, and yet it seems to me that one of my problems is if we're spending 35%, apparently we went over allocations of Ted's time. And I don't want to make this personal. It's because what we're trying to do here is come up with solutions. But I think if we're looking at an allocation of time, it makes no sense to allocate so much time and so much of the department's monies to a product if we're not effectively communicating to our public that product is available. If we're not telling them when it's on, if we're not finding ways to generate their interest, why are we even doing it? I mean, I think having a timely broadcast schedule for anybody in the media business is critical. And I think that this communication department, or prior the cable department, has had this charge for a long enough period of time so that they should be able to execute upon it. We should be able to execute upon it. Not once in a while. I mean, it should be consistent that at 12:01 a.m. at the beginning of a period, we should have a new broadcast schedule that's going to be reflective of what's actually going to be on out there for our residents. And to miss weeks or to be 2 days late or not to have proper programming, if we're really happy with that kind of performance, God, that's terrible.
Perhaps the solution would be to have an assistant or a clerical staff that would help him. I don't know. I think first we should hear what they have to say, and then we can approach it, because I don't see that the man is going to have any more hours in his day, but I do see that if he could allocate some of the work, or he could say, okay, this is when it has to go forward, and he gives it to someone else to put it up. I don't know. I think we should hear what they have to say.
And that's it. I don't think it's dismissing the recognition that we have some shortcomings. I think it's a matter of recognizing that we have those shortcomings and putting them on and saying, okay, how are we going to resolve this and bring value to our citizens? And I think a lot of this is a matter of process. It's not a matter of personality or a single person. It's a matter of addressing the process.
Yeah. And we will be doing that process next month when they come in here.
Well, you were very defensive with your responses.
Well, anyway, Kathy, if I may, I agree with you that Ted's work week is not going to get any shorter or longer. It's what it is. But I think one of the solutions, a potential solution, whether it's Civic Plus or another CMS system, is one way we can alleviate some of those responsibilities from Ted's schedule so that he is freed up time to do other things in a better capacity. So looking at something like, doing a website survey to determine what needs to be changed, if anything needs to be changed, and then going down that road and then finding funding so that if it's a one-time fee of $25,000, and that's just a guess, but let's say it is, then we take a look at our budget and we suck it up for a year or maybe 2 years, and then
how do you
that frees
suck it up? I mean, I'm a budget person. I did it for 27 years. And when there's not money, especially in this economic times where they have not replaced employees. If you go to the website, the webpage that says employment opportunities, there are none. They do not replace anyone when they leave. There absolutely are none. So I don't see how, and again, it's not our decision to make. It would be the trustees.
Sure. Absolutely.
And that would be where it would be up to their finance director to try to eke out, because our budget is
right. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Our budget's small, unfortunately.
Very small.
But if I look right now under equipment purchase, we have over $8,900 as available purchase funds that are unused.
That you see unused, but perhaps they are already earmarked for something. I don't know.
Right. But I mean, I'm not. Yeah, we're not purchasing
Well,
tomorrow.
no.
We're going through a discovery phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but going back to what we're charged with as far as our provisions.
Yes, for the
and our
highest standards,
guidelines.
which I really question that, because somebody might think the highest standards is $1 million website. Somebody else might think it's a $1,000 website. It's so subjective. And that's the thing. It is subjective. But again, luckily for us, we don't have to make these decisions. It's done by the trustees.
Well, I think the trustees rely on us, though, for input. And I think we're responsible, for a budget, so it's up to us if we had to squeeze some dollars out of that budget and find savings. I mean, and it's plausible that we can find, that we could, and we haven't looked at anything yet except a broad brush of what a CMS system would provide.
And we could only hear part.
By the same token, it's plausible that a CMS system like this will actually negate our need for maybe minutes on demand or some other compartmentalized software that we're currently contracting through one department or another. We certainly have some flexibility as far as budgets are concerned, and we've asked in the past, and I think we could probably get this, if it was a 1 year and and our trustees saw significant value in what we were bringing.
Well, that would be something, and
But
also.
they may bump the budget. So to say it can't be done.
No, I didn't say it can't be done. I said it probably, in this economic time, you look at it and you say they're not even replacing people, that a $25,000 website, when we get approximately 100 hits a day. Now, you tell me, what would, if we got every bell and whistle on that CMS Civic Plus thing, if we quadrupled 500 hits a day, what would that do for us?
It would inform our citizens.
It would.
At
And I
what
think
price?
that- and I think it would
There's a
engage-
balance.
Oh, well, Kathy, we spent $13,000 last year on Granicus.
I'm surprised we get
And Granicus is accessed through the web page. 2 years ago, we spent $5,000 on sprucing up the truck. And that didn't, I don't even think went to vote. And, if you're going to really talk about expenditures, I mean, I think everybody has to recognize value. Ultimately, it's either something that's of value or not. And I think you hit on an interesting point. I mean, you can have somebody that's up here positively motivated and somebody that's up here negatively motivated, and ultimately we need to find out what the will of our community is. And I think maybe that starts. Maybe a great place to start is with our Board of Trustees. I mean, we talked to them, we talked about doing something with them a year and a half ago. What are their expectations of us? And I think, Lauren, that's what you're moving towards as far as the survey was, wasn't it?
It
Right.
was on the suggested survey, yes.
Yeah.
And what did you say, Bob? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You said we have 100 hits a day. I'm impressed with that because, quite frankly, I was of the opinion.
No, I have the data.
No, that's fine. Leave it. I was of
That's
the opinion
150,
that
huh?
Right there, and
the
the average is
website
100.
is not that effective or useful, and a lot of people, when it works that way, they just quit using it. So I'm surprised we get 100 hits. I think if we had, and one of our charters says that we have an effective and professional township website of the highest quality, and I believe if we did that and moved towards that, I bet we'd get many, many more hits. I kind of gave up on the website. It doesn't work for me.
I was surprised when I went through every one of those pages. I mean, I sat down to do that Excel spreadsheet for you guys. It took a lot of time. I was amazed at the information that was there. I was shocked.
Well, it's information that exists, but it's not housed appropriately, and that's where.
Maybe so. I was surprised how much was there. I was flabbergasted. I kept saying, we have this, we have this. I never looked. But again, it's a municipal website, and the little research I've done on my own, because I don't work in the tech field, but I do have access to pretty prominent business people, and one of my associates that I know has a website. He's got a national business, and he has 100,000 hits on his website a month. So I said, take a look. And I got his opinion. And he basically said it's a functioning website. He says, what more do you need? And I mean, I was surprised at his attitude. He said it's not, there aren't bells and whistles. It's a little outmoded. But he said it works. And he started showing me all the stuff on it that I didn't even realize we had with the site counter and all that, the site meter. It was amazing to me. And I value somebody who has 100,000 hits when we only get, after you deduct out the employees, about 100 a day. I mean, that's impressive to me, 100,000. Maybe not to you, Craig. Maybe your business, your website. If you
No.
I
think it's just.
resourced. I was surprised.
I wasn't part of the conversation. I think you could find a world of different perspectives and a
Absolutely
world of
subjective.
different responses. And
But it was interesting to hear that.
I think it's why I have no idea, and I can't speak as to what the expectations of our community is. It's why we need to get out and determine what their expectations are, what they want out of it, what is of value. And I'm not aware that we have ever done that as a commission. And I mean, well before we came on. I'm not aware that we have, I tend to think that we presume a lot as to what's going to be acceptable or not, rather than actually going out and doing the research necessary.
I would say that I have called a number, because I just get on the phone certain days, and I will spend the entire day calling different cities and asking, as I did Riverview the other day, they have constant contact, the contact management system, and they're basically within our demographics, because that's very much a concern to me, because of all the three cities he mentioned, 2 were huge compared to us, 2 to 3 times, 3.5 times at least more larger than we are demographically, and of course that relates to your finances available too. I mean, and one was much smaller, but they have a large community. And I asked Riverview about, if they've ever had a survey. I've asked Ann Arbor. I've asked a number of places, and I'm really shocked that they have never done a survey. Now, I think a survey is a great idea. I offer more information, and I do an informal one almost every time I meet somebody. I ask, did you go to the website? What do you think of it? And I'll ask them if they're negative, I'll ask them why they're negative. If they're positive, I'll ask them why. But I think we do need a survey, obviously. We have one now that doesn't get a lot of attention. We get occasionally things, but I am surprised how many of the municipalities in the state of Michigan have not done a survey. It amazes me, but we can be better than that.
It's the fear of the
Well, I
unknown.
think, bravo, I think that's the attitude that we should have, is we can be better than that. Yeah. Yeah, excellent.
No, don't be defensive.
I'm sorry?
I'm kidding. Don't be defensive.
No, I'm saying we can, we can be better than that.
I think we can be, but again,
that's
it's
great.
interesting, but we can also do informal ones constantly. We meet people all the time. We interact with people at different clubs, at different events, and see what they think, and take notes and bring it back, report in. So that's it, that. And now the other business is the survey off the website. Lauren, you...
Okay, so are we done with web updates?
I would
process,
think
and
so,
timing?
because I would think that will be handled next month with...
I think that just falls underneath
Yeah.
standards, so,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, well, I had submitted to you guys via email a project to conduct a website survey of our or an online survey of our website. I've outlined the purpose of it, the project goals and objectives, as well as the segments and the timeframes, and all of this is this is just a sample of what I put together. So this is, something that we can discuss, and the timing can certainly change. But our best way to get unhindered, unbiased, pure, organic information and data is to do it through an organization like SurveyMonkey, where we are not soliciting the information ourselves. We tend to bring our own emotions and biases and favoritisms to these sort of things, so I suggest going that route.
Do you have any idea the cost that might be? Just rough and dirty.
Well, with this, anybody can have a SurveyMonkey account. You can send up to 100 emails or get up to 100 responses back for free for individual surveys. And because the way I have it segmented, we could probably do just about all of them for free.
That's what I was thinking.
So, even if we did even the generic resident one where it caps it at 100 responses, that gives us better information than no information at all.
Well, we could do statistical analysis to see what we have, how many people we have to contact to get a certain confidence
Right.
level. That can
Right.
be easily done.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just came out today,
Right.
so we got a lot of reading to do, and it's very detailed. Did you write this?
I did.
Boy, you were a busy girl.
It's
Yeah.
something that I think we need to do. I truly believe that.
And I was thinking that we could all digest this, because, again, I got it this morning, and I think I passed it on to you, Bob. I didn't see you on the email. Some people were missing from
Oh,
your
was
email.
he?
Yeah, and I thought
Sorry, Bob.
to help you out, because, we all make mistakes, I would pass it on to him, because I wanted him to have something, and I didn't know if he had, but you did respond right away to let me know you got it. So I thought we could all work at it and review it, and then come up with questions and suggestions, the additions, deletions, because if we can have something done basically for free, with a confidence level of, let's say, 95%, why wouldn't we?
Right. My only fear in delaying, not that we all have to agree on everything that's in here. I think that we need to agree on a motion that a survey of some sort needs to be conducted. Based
I
on
think
the
we
language
have done
I
that
provided.
already.
Yeah, but it wasn't of the website. It was just a generic, and I don't know.
I thought it was.
If we're good saying that we're going to do one,
Yeah.
then I'm fine with that. But I didn't know if we needed to make another motion in regards
Does anybody
to something
feel that there's a
pertains-
problem having a website survey? I would think we'd all want it.
My question,
I'm sorry, Pam, please.
well, I know we've tried one on, I think it's on our website,
Yes,
and it's voluntary.
right.
Now, would this be choosing certain people? How?
The way that I have it, it's
Voluntary
broken
didn't
down
seem to
in
work.
there.
I hadn't had a chance to.
Well,
digest
basically,
it.
the way that we would do this is there's several segments that we would go after. One being the township trustees, a secondary one going to the township employees, a third one going to the police and fire personnel, another one going to the GI school employees, and then an open one that would go to residents. The open one, we do not have email addresses collected for residents, so that would have to be done by a promotion through communicating on air like we are now, getting the information out to the other committees and commissions to spread the word that way, as well as some work with the EL camera and any other media outlets that we can tap into to get the word out about the survey. The survey should only be open for approximately 1 week. A Sunday to Sunday is usually best. If we can get the media out, in the discussion or the article in the paper that Sunday prior, that gets people clicking.
Well, it would be a Friday, because it's published on Friday, the OK.
Is it?
Yeah.
So...
And I don't think there'd be a problem having cooperation. We have an excellent rapport with the camera. They're terrific. We could ask, and hopefully they would say yes. I just can't see any reason why if we could get something that it has a confidence level that we determine is acceptable, why wouldn't we do this? More information is better.
Right.
So I think on that basis, we could all digest this. We could send some emails to each other thinking what they want. We could even have a special little meeting after the first of the year. If you want to really hash it out, and it would not have to be televised. It would just be one of those little work sessions. Yeah, because I really think it has to be studied. There was a lot there. And to just get it in the morning is like, nobody had the time. But it seems that this would be something very valuable. Would you all agree? Would you be willing to have a study session?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we talked, I think it's time for action.
Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Agreed.
That would be great.
Okay. Well, that is our last agenda item. And I think that, is there anything else anybody has to say? If not, I would like to suggest that we make a motion to close the meeting at 8:18.
Kathy,
Yes.
public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was in the beginning.
Sorry.
I missed it. Changed your mind.
Ernie Horvath, Hickory Island. I just had a couple of questions. Comments from guests was number 4, and Craig just said public comment at the end. Usually it's at the end at these meetings. Why would you put it at number 4? Because there's nothing to comment on before the meeting starts.
That's how we've done it. We can change that.
Yeah, I mean,
We usually get, because guests a lot of times don't want to stay. We
Not
don't
my
have a lot
habit.
of guests.
not
So-
my habit. A couple things that really might drive website activity. I'm finishing up a study that took about 3 years. And a lot of websites I went to all over the country. And they put things on like water bills. I'd like to be able to look up and know what my neighbor is paying for water. I only know if I talk to them. And half the people here don't get to talk to each other in the winter because their schedules. Now, if I knew my neighbor's water bill is $1,100, I might get active in this community. It's the same with insurance policies. Communities have their insurance policies online. I know what I'm paying for that insurance policy and all the details of that policy. There's a system called MERS. MERS is the Municipal Employment Retirement System. I had to actually go to the township. They were going to charge me $65 to copy the book, where other communities have that book. It's about 70 pages online. I can go through the book. I don't have to spend any money, and that might get me involved when I know what I'm contributing to the people's retirement here and all the details. The other thing you might look at is the employment contracts. The school website, I believe, has the employment contracts and the lead negotiators and how they came about. We don't. I have no idea what the township manager's contract is.
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one.
He does not have one.
Well, now I know. I don't have to look it up.
You could have asked. I did. I asked today, as a matter of fact.
Well, any other contracts, union contracts for the clerical employees, all the things they talked about Monday night, negotiating the new insurance regulations that they're going to have to meet. Those things could be put online. And I guarantee you'll drive interest. And you'll get more people engaged at the meetings to be more effective in the community to make change happen. I've been here 33 years. Most people think the township supervisor they vote for is running the town. It's the township manager. But you ask everyone, and they have no idea who Dale Ream is.
Well,
I've done it. My neighborhood doesn't even know. So what you put on there is going to drive the activity. Because for my research, I went to these websites, and that's where I got all my information, basically for free. Didn't have to make phone calls, travel, or interview. And it was good data, and it all came from the MTA, the Michigan Township Association. They have, if a city or municipality or a township has a website, it's there, and you can click on it and go right to it, or you can put it in the search box. But that's where I got all my information. And when I went there, I saw things that should appear on our website. And when I went to our website, it was lacking in some of these fundamentals. I could tell you in some of these small towns, smaller than us, what they spent for overtime on the police department last month. I have no idea what the average salary of our police department is here for starting patrolman. For 33 years I've been here, it's time we get the information out. If you want to attract residents.
well, they do have the budget, Ernie. And
The budget has nothing to do with what I just recommended.
the budget is a good indication if you wanted to get an average of what you think.
No, the budget is convoluted. We went through that budget with the 3 professional accountants from Deloitte & Touche, some 2 private firms, and when you look at that budget, and when it says insurance cost for a department, it may list one person for one number, and then they have a quarter of the secretary, so that number is added on to the 15,000, and it's very difficult to break those numbers down. I'm a numbers person, too, for about 50 years, and you can't make any sense of it. What I was told to do with that budget book was to put it in my bird cage, because there's no performance review behind it. But I'm not here to talk about the budget. That budget is online. It's information, but there's no performance behind it. I went to the state rep, the state senator, and they looked at that budget. And they said, you have to have a performance budget. So they recommended starting at the county to do a performance budget audit at the county budget. They'll start there. Then you have the story behind the numbers. Right now, we don't have the story behind the numbers. So I'll be heavily involved in this budgeting process coming up. But I think if you put more of these facts on, you'll drive activity.
I will contact the people. I don't know the legalities of putting a union contract on. I mean, I don't know any of that.
It's all available by FOIA.
But I would be happy to find out.
Another key element, and my whole premise was, why aren't people engaged in our township? High voter turnout, low engagement. Look at the people in this room, all the activity here. The communications is the most vital link in a community. You control the communications, you control the community. Same for a country. And one of the things that we were watching on Monday, and I was at the meeting packets. A lot of communities put the meeting packets online. If I'm at home, I can go on the web, watch the meeting, and when you say, well, I'm looking at this chart on the insurance breakdown, well, I can look at it too. Right now, at the meeting, in the audience, they didn't even put it on the overhead. I had no idea what they were talking about. So putting and having the meeting packets available and just not giving it to the local media outlet, the Heritage, doesn't do me any good. But if it's on the website, it would be great. Those are things that can be put up there. I'm not a techie person. I have no idea how long it would take to put up 10 pages of information. But when I started with floppies back in the early 80s, it didn't take very long. Just some suggestions.
I've got it all written down. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to write you a letter.
Okay.
And then the commission can...
Thanks, Ernie.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know if I can answer any questions. I comment.
You can answer.
It's always easier, isn't it?
No, this one's easy. We have one seat empty. Would you like to apply for it?
Here, here.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, Ernie, you'd be great.
This-
Everything you said is so pertinent.
Very much
This is
so.
public information. It should be on the website.
Transparency, yep.
It kind of illuminates everything we're trying to do in the country right now.
It does.
Without a doubt.
And maybe that's why I got the attention of our state senator, our state rep, and maybe the governor, because he's seen my speech that I gave here in September. I'm not doing this for anything except to make the community better. I'd like to know what I'm paying people.
Exactly.
I'd like to know when they accumulate. Detroit might not be in the situation they're in now if the residents had the information. If you don't get the information, I'm walking around in the dark. Now, for a long time, it's been traditional on this island, because I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. There is no information. They have high water bills. When I was 22, I thought of moving here. Well, they have high water bills. Why? Well, if you're going to restore a system on a 15-mile-long island by a mile wide, you're going to have high water bills. But when I moved here, it was not my intent to restore the water system in Roselle. We don't restore systems in other communities you're living in. You maintain them. You don't restore them. But the information's vital. And as far as your suggestion, I've been getting pulled in many directions. A lot of people want me to do a lot of things. And I'd have to look at it as I finish up this book.
Could I add something? Ernie is, with a number of other people, started within the past year the Grosse-Ile Civic Association. And I think Ernie is the president of this. Are you not?
I'm here representing myself.
I understand. I'm just saying, though, are you not the president of the Grosse-Ile Civic
I was
Association?
given that job.
Yes, okay. Along with some other really great people, including
Yes.
one of our trustees, and the Grosse-Ile Civic Association is actually having a meeting. I happen to be a card-carrying member. And is having a meeting tomorrow night at Centennial Farm. And if you're interested in that, please come and get engaged.
We're going to make the formal announcement next month at a board meeting. We may have a short presentation on what our goals and objectives are.
It's 7:15 tomorrow night?
7:15 Centennial Farm. Now,
Thank you, Ernie.
the only thing that I would leave you with, every organization, commission, appointed or hired employee, elected or hired, should have, when they start work here, as in any company that I was already affiliated with, and in my personal life, goals and objectives, tangible and intangible, timelines, deadlines. I learned this when I was 8 years old. I don't see a major plan for this community at any of the commission levels, at any of the elected levels, and that would attract residents. Hey, they have it. They know what they're doing. Just some suggestions. But I will be putting on a dinner in January, a Great Ideas dinner, just to have a forum. There's a lot of people out there who should contribute, and I want them to step up.
Okay.
And that's communication.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ernie.
Thanks, Ernie.
Well, we broadcast a lot of things. What
We
the heck?
certainly do. We are equitable. Anyways, motion to adjourn?
Now, motion?
Second.
Second? Thank you. And we are completed at 8:29.
No.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks, public, for putting up with us early on. Sorry.